I found myself, even though I am very relaxed, laid back, I was starting to get aggravated early on. I was like, oh, hold on just a second. I got to be able to pull over here. Let me go check on this real quick. And I was like, nope, reset. Hold on. Got to grab. So in the middle of it, you have to realize, even though we do all this all the time and we talk about it, it's okay whenever you hit the rev limiter and you have to back up. It's just important to recognize that and step back and be able to move forward.
Hey everyone, welcome to Crossroad Conversations with the Lewis Brothers, where we aim to share real stories about running a successful family business while working through adversity and pouring back into our community that keeps our doors open every single day. We're your hosts, Shelby, Matt, and Taylor, and we'll be bringing you real, relevant local business advice, maybe some automotive insights that are sure to change the way you look at running a business or buying a car, and maybe even throw in a plug for you to do business with us here locally. Welcome back, Crossroad Conversation, episode 49. We're your hosts, the Lewis Brothers, Matt, Shelby, and Taylor, bringing you the latest and greatest, most relevant. Maybe this is your first time. Maybe you've listened to all 49. Maybe you've listened to a couple, but we're glad you joined us today. So today we're talking about burned out and still in charge. Like, think about that. Burned out, but still lighting the fire to figure it out.
Like I want to go home, but I can't.
Yeah, something like that. So the dark side of leading under pressure, what it does to you, what it does to the whole team, what the culture does, all of those things of burnout and still in charge. So we'll fully unpack that today.
Did you just hit me with the word dark side? Like we got to unpack that?
Yeah.
Hey, this one's going to get deep. So I hope you've grabbed your coffee. This is going to be a good episode. But before we dive into this week's episode, hey, don't forget about last week, episode 48. This was a good one. It really was, because a lot of people are caught in between either what the subject says here, stop being so nice, how weak leadership doesn't work, or you're on the other end where you don't care at all.
Yeah.
So we spent a good amount of time last week unpacking that, how you can be professional, you can still care about people, but hold them accountable.
Yeah.
But not just let them run you over. So that was a great episode. Go back and listen to that and many others. And if you just started listening to us, we've got a library full of just tips and tricks that we have learned throughout our 79 years worth of business here on handling employees and advertising and cash flow and inventory, so on and so forth. You can find all those at crossroadconversationpodcast.com. And don't forget to check out our inventory. Over 1,000 vehicles in stock and ready to sell at lewissuperstore.com.
Absolutely. Hey, and diving in, what did we drive? It's starting to get to the best time of year that the weather's starting to get closer to the fall. We're getting closer out of the 100-degree days.
Yep.
I got to talk about our iconic Mustang pony car that we've had around for years. I recently got one the other day, and I think it gets swept under the rug that we have the best selection we've ever had now, that they start at under $40,000 for 300 horsepower, and they go all the way up to the dark horse. It's over 500 horsepower and has all the track apps. I'm talking about a vehicle that comes from the factory that you can actually hit the line lock button, burn the rear tires, and then hit a drag app to be able to do your 0 to 60. It is full-fledged, full spectrum that'll get you the best gas mileage, but the most fun car to take down. You know, we live in an area where there's this road called the Pig Trail that's so fun.
It's the last remaining iconic sports car.
It is, and I think you forget, Taylor, you bring that up, and I know we get busy in the business, of forgetting like how much Ford's been on the gas with the evolution of the Mustang. And just thinking about like when we were growing up, like the most powerful Mustang then, you know, had 220 horsepower.
Yeah.
And would run 0-60 if you were luckily on a good cool day, sub 7 seconds. And now we're talking about 500 horsepower, 3.7, I believe it is, 0 to 60 in that dark horse. And all under factory warranty with an amazing sound system. You know what I mean? And all the cool tech.
Yeah.
Just how they've integrated that all in, and how do you do all that and then still get better fuel mileage?
Nah, I don't know. It's magic.
I know. That's pretty cool. That's a good one to bring up.
So that is a good one. Fun with the best selection we've ever had. Come check them out there. Hey, but diving straight into the hidden cost of unchecked stress in leadership. So this is obviously.
What do you mean unchecked?
More
What are
so,
you
I
doing
would,
to me?
I would probably say the stress that you push to the side and act like it's not really affecting.
Yeah, let me have some coffee
affecting the
here.
way. Yes. So how chronic stress affects decision making, communication, and culture.
Oh man, where do we start here?
Okay, so the stress piles on.
It does.
Yes.
It does. And I don't care what business you're in.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have stress.
Like-
Some of it's natural.
Like not hitting the metrics, or someone not showing up, or all those things.
Or you don't have enough cash in the bank to do payroll or to pay your bills or this or that. Like there's all these different areas that stress can come from. And that's a good place to start, Shelby, is like just unpacking where all this would come from. Like everybody thinks it's these big monumental things, but no, it's kind of the 1,000 cuts of every single day of stress of somebody not showing up. So then how are you going to cover that? In our business, a vehicle not showing up or parts not showing up. Like all these different
Bad Google
pieces.
review,
Bad Google
bad
rev-
manufacturer survey,
And some of them didn't even have anything to do with you.
Ford charged back a bunch of your incentives from last month.
All these different pieces of a misbuild and so on and so forth.
Your brand new building's leaking.
So there's no way, let me just first spoiler alert. There's no way to avoid stress in business. There's just no way. So if you think the Lewis brothers got it together and we never get stressed, you are wrong. So it's more of how to compartmentalize the stress, what stress to deal with, what stress to not deal with, because some of it really, like once you run it through the filter, it's really not that big of a deal, and it's like, it's just going to go away.
Yeah.
But then all of it won't go away. Some of it you do need to address. And some of it, which is what Taylor was getting to, and Shelby said that the title is here, some of it builds up so high that you got to remove yourself for a minute to be able to just let the top pop off of it before you can effectively manage and lead people.
Yeah.
Because if not, you are underwater, you're underperforming, and you're making the situation worse.
And that's generally what happens. If you do not address it, delegate it, let it wear off, at least acknowledge it's here, it's affecting me, you will make decisions that are not based on facts or decisions based on your culture, your kindness. All the things that you do good at will be totally affected if you don't. Now, you can't just like drama unload constantly, all those things, but there's a time when you just got to figure out, okay, how do I defuse this?
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's something that's coming to me right here that I need to talk about. There's kind of a couple different mindsets with stress or showing that to people. And some people just, when they get to that moment, they just blow their lid at everybody.
Just fly off the handle.
You know what I mean? At everybody. They just fly off the handle. But you may be more like me. And I fortunately don't fly off the handle very often. But there's probably a whole lot of nonverbal cues that people can read that I'm at my max. So I may be thinking mentally in my mind, I'm handling this stress fine. I haven't bit anybody's head off today. I'm still being nice to people, but they can see it, which then slows them down to come ask me a question or to be around me, and I'm not able to give that positive energy and that elevation of the expectations and of the business up. You know, so there's those two things there. We've seen both. You know, now we have a culture that doesn't really allow too many people just completely losing it on people.
No, that's like one of the number one things we teach. Like, don't go dog cuss somebody, don't go holler and scream, or, number one rule, treat others the way you want to be treated, even in the worst of the worst.
Sure.
And I think they see that by not what we say, but how we lead, so that's a big thing there. But I guess probably something we don't do great at is saying, okay, don't do these things. This is not part of our thing, but here's how you do that. Right?
I think so.
How do you handle it?
And I think one of the things that has taken me a long time, over 20 years in the business now to learn is I would get in my head about, even in a highly stressful situation, that I have to be in the middle of it because the team depends upon me. And yeah, I know I need to step back, or I need to go for a run, or I need to do this or that to be able to reset and process all this. But I've got this pressure going, no, you can't leave. You can't go do that. Your team needs you. But what the team really needs is a better version of you.
Yeah, and something that I see in this a lot of times with stress comes from because you feel like stress, high level, it's landed in our laps. But what we've learned is there's probably, you can, and I'm not going to say, hey, put it off or like deviate from this, but you can delegate your stress. And it was delegating the task before it came stress. Now it's stress. And so you got to circle back and say, hey, I need your help with these things, because otherwise you're the only one with your hair on fire and everyone else is just like, hey, got a new guy here, want to introduce you to him. And you're just like, what? Yeah, it's like, oh gosh, I probably should. I let the water boil get too hot, and now all the water's evaporating.
Yeah, it's just you're striking every time you're talked.
Yeah, and so that's improper delegation.
You know, and they really, here's the truth. We just got to talk the truth on this podcast. They care about you, but they really don't care about the amount of stress you're going through.
Oh, no way.
You know, so let's
the greatest one looking for
second.
brownie points. The greatest employees looking for brownie points. They'll say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, this isn't too much, is it? You know?" And it's like, "What are you talking about? What is this, Oprah? No, I don't want to talk to you right now.
I'm not talking about my feelings. I'm not talking to you about this. I got it."
No, I'll tell you though, but the only time this kind of rolls into, because if you have a team that you lead and they're aggressive and we're in sales, so everybody works together, the only time you'll get any type of emotion, reaction, anything else is whenever they feel like they're letting you down in what they've missed. So kind of rolling into your stress becomes their team's burden, but that's because they've missed something. They missed catching the fastball and it whacked you straight in the chest. They're like, oh gosh, I better, before you start exploding. So that probably is the only time that your team really will slow down a little bit and maybe address you. But you're right. Any other time, they have no clue.
So let me throw this at you guys, because let's unpack this a little bit. You know, we've talked a little bit about the stress and kind of, you know, what we deal with in our culture. But let's talk about the stress and how it affects your decision-making, communication, and the culture. And there's first, I want to talk about the piece of stress that could be avoidable if we would have just done a better job managing in expectations. Taylor, I know you and I have had this conversation multiple times, and it's usually way after we've closed, and then we're just sitting there talking, and it's like, where is everybody else? You know, and you're up to your neck and doing stuff, and you know what the deal is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hey, if proper planning and proper expectations comes into place, like you're frustrated at first, and then you're like, well, maybe I didn't do what I was supposed to do to avoid this in the future. Walk them through that.
Yeah, that's, you want it done correctly. You have your day planned out because you've written it out. You know, and the craziest thing, and I'm trying to transition and move from there because of the time I am in my life now with family and everything else. Used to be, I wouldn't care if it was 8 to 10 o'clock because I knew that's when everyone would leave.
Sure.
I could get everything done. And so what happens is then I allow the whole day to happen. I allow everyone to leave because I know I'm going to mess with it. Well, really, I'm continuing to burden myself with it instead of helping the rest of the team grow and give them proper, clear expectations of this is how you handle the situation. This is how you move forward. So it's not progressing myself and it's not progressing my team. So that's when you have to really look back in the mirror and see, hey, this is all inflicted by myself.
So I think that's part, and you know, Shelby, you know, I've had the same conversations. Because, hey guys, at the end of the day, we really can only vent to each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, our employees aren't going to let us vent to them about other business problems or cash flow problems.
Which is still pretty rare in its own. Like, it's maybe
I know.
If it's once every 2 weeks, we've done pretty good.
I'd say that's amazing.
Yeah, maybe it's once a month. And
I'm going to put a rerecurring calendar invite or something.
Do you have a stress lunch talk?
I think I've got an extra 15 minutes.
I've got some good place I'm going to take y'all to lunch.
And I think it's one of not trying to be in a negative mindset.
Correct.
Because we work really hard to not be there. Mm-hmm. But it feels good. Sometimes you're just like, But then it's productive, but it's counterintuitive productive. Like, let's not just be like, well, Sally's doing this and Larry, and like, hey, I went over this in the meeting yesterday. I went over something very specific in the meeting that I saw Saturday as a salesperson not offering the experience that we uphold. And then after the meeting, I was like, hey, manager, follow up with this person because they're probably going to need it more one-on-one because they're going to think I wasn't speaking to them. And then they completely did the exact same thing again. And it's like, hey, did you not realize that's what we were talking about? And he's like, oh, no, I don't do that. It's like, oh, my gosh. It's tough. But, yeah, if I'm not dumping that on my family, on my wife, I'm not overly dumping it on the managers or the workers or the team. So, sure, every rare once in a while we'll sit down, but it's,
But to say, like when you're saying that, it's reminding me, and I'm not the best at this, because naturally, especially depending upon, what type of leader and what type of personality you have out there, we're wired to be solution-based, fix-it people. Mm-hmm. Like our mind's already going there when something's broke or there's an issue. So I have to remind myself, and I'm still not great at this, is when one of y'all are just trying to unload because you got nobody else to unload on, like, just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And I'm telling myself this right now. Yeah. Just shut up and listen and just be an ear and let them vent. You don't have to fix them right that minute.
That's so good. I get that with my family. It's like, hey, can I just like talk? It's like, yeah,
don't really
bad.
Respond.
Because you hear it.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that could have been prevented this way, and that could have been prevented that way, and this will fix that, and just like, and you at least let them finish talking, and you're like, hey, did you look at this? And it's like, look, this already happened, okay? Can you just let me be normal for a second? Like, just let me tell you what's gone on here. It's like, well, what the fix was. It's like, yeah, but 6 months ago, that wasn't so clearly the fix.
No.
But yeah, I mean, you have to. You got to unpack that. You got that stress and figure out, because otherwise you are going to not be good at decision making. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be clear. You're not going to have the main thing.
I'll tell you where that comes from. We talked about this last week, but then we had a meeting. We talked to the end of last week. I got hammered with a lot of customers the previous week, and it just comes in waves. That's how it comes. But the last customer that was probably the most, and I don't know why it works out this way, that was the most difficult, I found myself, even though I'm very relaxed, laid back, I was starting to get aggravated early on. I was like, hold on just a second. I got to be able to pull over here. Let me go check on this real quick. And I was like, nope, reset. Hold on. Got to grab. So in the middle of it, you have to realize, even though we do all this all the time and we talk about it, it's okay whenever you hit the rev limiter and you have to back up. It's just important to recognize that and step back and be able to move forward.
So I think, as we talk about this, and I think we've done a good job identifying, I don't care what industry you're in, everybody has stress. Mm-hmm. Now, some of it we can do a better job managing when we have this same stress that's repeating itself.
Yes.
Is who can we delegate that to? How can I do a better job calendaring schedules or planning or changing a process to reduce? We'll never completely eliminate stress, but some of it, can get off the plate. But the second thing we got to talk about here, because we're talking about the ripple effect and we're talking about how it affects our team and our culture, is when we are under stress, how do we reset before we re-engage with the rest of our team? And I think the first thing we talked about there is you got to have somebody that you can, doesn't have to be every day, and it's not drama mama carrying it up, but every once in a while that you can dump that. Mm-hmm. That person, let's give a couple tips here, okay? We think this is normal, but that person cannot be one of your employees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They cannot be, even if it's this or it's that, it cannot be, if you're a manager, one of the other team leads underneath you or so on and so forth. Now, if you got a higher up boss that then is a mentor of yours, yeah, it could be. Make sure you go into it telling them, hey, I just need to be able to vent this so then I can move on. That's the best way with men, so we know what to do. If you don't tell us what to do and how to react, we're going to react the wrong way probably.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to do that. Or if you don't have somebody to talk to, you got to have some type of outlet. I don't care how busy you are, and I promise you guys, we have been buried in the deep end busy. And I've forced myself before to go do something, if it's just an hour or 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And when I come back, I am tenfold more productive and better to be around.
And that's a really good point, because you say, hey, find somebody to talk to. And I'm thinking, I don't really have that person. I mean, yeah, I could talk to you two, but it's just like, hey, well, you two look busy too.
You guys look stressed out
like,
too.
You're not going to be any help whatsoever. I don't even want to talk to you right now. It's your fault. It's my fault, but it's your fault. And so, exercise has been my outlet for a long time, and it's funny because if you exercise, hopefully you've exercised at some level of
Sometime in your
if
life.
not, start walking. Just walk. But
Walk to the kitchen.
and if you're just walking, then turn the incline up on the treadmill or go to a hill, because one of the funny things about when you start exercising, running, is that your heart repurposes where your blood is going to the areas that need it the most.
Yep.
Maybe your legs or maybe your lungs. Which then and I am not a doctor, so don't take this and write a whole script on this, but it takes away your ability to process your thinking quite as much.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example that sometimes when I'm running, I'll be a lot of times like, hey, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that. It's just like, oh, I hate this is hot. Oh, no, I'm thankful for this. But I'll pass a street, and it might be like Larry Street. And then like 3 minutes later, in my mind, that is not getting as much oxygen because my lungs are burning or my legs are burning, I'm trying to remember how to spell Larry. I'm like, Larry, was that with 2 R's? Or in today's world, was that an I with a hyphenated A or what? I'm just like, so then I'm running for a long time. I'm like, Larry, Larry. Was it 2 R's? And then a couple miles later, I'm like, okay, you're silly. Like, what are you doing? And so then if you whip yourself hard enough or you go long enough, the problems, the stress that you had are not that big of a deal.
You've worked through it.
You worked through it. Like, do they still need to be handled? Yes, but it's not like at the boiling point. What you've done is thrown some ice in there and cooled her down.
I think that's so true, and I can't tell you. I mean, it's serious breaking points I've been at, and I've gone and ran and like mad running.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't mean like I was burning up the best time. Okay,
but
I
just based on
like
your
mad,
normal,
like just mad running and like yelling at the trees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you
mad
just
at
turned
the
Nickelback
stuff.
on
I'm
and just ran hard.
Pissed. Pissed. And then 30 minutes goes by, and it at least takes 30 minutes. Okay, everybody's got to know it doesn't happen in 5 minutes. Okay, because the rest of your body does have to settle down. You got to get blood, oxygen, all your muscles, blah blah blah. Like Shelby explained it as Dr. Ed. But then the mind starts working, and it starts prioritizing blood, and then all of a sudden you've like emotionally worked through all that junk, and you start clearly thinking about what's the next step you should take, or about how it's not that big of a deal. Hey, here's what the Google doctor says.
Let's see.
They said, in any type of cardiovascular exercising, so running, biking, rowing,
Elevated
swimming,
level.
you got to elevate. We got to get our heart rate up.
Let's go.
Okay, so it increases blood flow to the brain, which boosts brain function and promotes neurogenesis.
You're going to.
I know. The growth of I got to get to this part. The growth of new brain cells. Okay? This process can improve cognitive abilities such as attention, memory, and problem solving, allowing for clearer thinking and a more focused mind.
Problem solving with a clear mind.
And I think more than anything, like what it does, and you know what our audience is going on now. All right, here they are. They're on their exercising kick again. I think you do something that stresses.
More about it?
Not yet. Okay. That stresses your body to a point that it has to divert its energy and thinking off the minuscule stress that was going on. Mm-hmm. It allows you to do a clean reset, yanking the power cord out of the wall, counting 10 seconds, and plugging it back in. Mm-hmm. But you must do something that elevates your heart rate and stresses your body to snap you out of that.
Yeah.
Now go ahead.
No,
and it might be it's an attention diversion.
Yeah, I think
so. Some people's outlet are golf. Now, am I saying during the middle of the day that we go play golf? It's been 15 or 20 years.
No.
It's funny. I was talking to Dad, and he's traveling the U.S. fishing right now. He's fired up. He hadn't fished since we were little kids, and so as we're trying to get him to retire. They went to Montana, to Utah, to Colorado. And he's like, golly, some of these streams are in the middle of the mountains. He's like, yeah, did you have any cell phone service? He's like, I don't know. I didn't have my phone.
He had his phone with him.
I was like, that's what's so amazing about that. And I said, I think that's why if you're not a golfer, that people will go do this fishing because you were just out in nature and all the problems will kind of just drift away when you're trying to figure out, what fly you want to put on and where you're going to put that and how not to fall in the water. Yeah. So maybe you're not saying, look, I ain't elevating my heart rate. That's dumb. Then there's some other type of outlet that says.
Somehow you're going to have to. Now, you can emotionally go unpack it with somebody. That's going to take a little bit more. And I have no degree in that area. But I guess the point is you're going to have to do something. Yeah. And here's my encouragement to somebody listening that is just their hair is on fire. And they're running their wheels off, and you woke up at 3 this morning or 4 this morning, and you won't finish till midnight tonight because you don't have anybody to do all the service calls for you. I'm telling you, and I'm just telling you from experience because I've been there, if you will at some point in time break during the day and refill yourself, you will have a much productive outcome. Your team will be happier. You'll think clearer, so on and so forth. And you just got to remember, I don't even know if the video's on here, but if this were a picture full of everything you have to give to your team, and you start pouring it out, all right, and your team's using this, and whether it be knowledge or energy or leadership, whatever it may be, once this thing is poured out, if you don't go fill it back up, it just stays empty. And you're just grinding along with no value to add.
Yep.
No, that's good. That's really good.
That's definitely a good point so breaking down of the hidden costs of unchecked stress and leadership and all the things that we've seen and what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
And going from
yeah.
All right, next up we got our Automotive Mythbuster, which has been fun the past couple weeks we've done. It's back in here. I should wait for the end of the month to get the best deal.
So we're saying people say I should wait to the end of the month to get my very best deal.
Yeah, they've read the book How to Buy a Car, or somebody's told them. No, that's not true. I was gonna slowly go into that, but here's the deal: is you got to think during the month. People are very aggressive at the start because they're trying to get their month going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or the second week of the month, a salesperson may be behind their goal, or a manager, so they're very aggressive to get it done. Uh-huh. If you wait till the last hour of the last day, you've waited too long. You're actually probably going to pay more because they've probably accomplished their goal and they're wore out. And then the selection.
The selection is
that blue F-150 you wanted, all they have left now is white.
I always laugh about that. End of last month, we had some people, and they didn't say, hey, I waited, but I could tell they waited. And some of the offers, we had very, very, very lucrative good value offers, and they were offering $10,000 and $15,000 less.
Less than
I was like,
that.
those are just those people hunting for those deals. Looking for somebody that really needs a deal.
Yeah.
I said, that's not our deal. And I'm not saying that's not our customer. Let's go ahead and offer them a great deal. But if it doesn't make sense for them, it doesn't make sense. So they're not going to get the most highest level of service. And that's not by design. We don't say, hey, be mean to those people. But that, like kind of ends up that way. And they're just like sitting there waiting for you to close the door and like, hey, you need one more car deal? It's like, you want to tell them like, no, not really. We'll be open tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come on by and we'll see what the incentives are and see how we can help you out, and the pendulum has kind of swung there a little bit, that the quality of life comes in as well. You encourage your team to help everybody at the highest level, but some people
Shut her off.
Yeah.
It shuts down. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
And if we missed half a deal, we missed half a deal.
Right.
We don't want to miss 10 deals.
And I think a lot of our micro meetings of the daily travel rate per the department, per the person, help us realize that you don't have to chase to that very end.
Yep.
Now, do we sell more in the end than we do in the beginning? Absolutely. That's always how it happens.
Sure.
People put things off, but as much as we can control now.
Hey, I think an easy way for people to relate on this, let's go outside of automotive business so they don't think we're just trying to give them a sales pitch here, is we have loss leaders that we put out there in our advertisement that we do sell, okay, that attracts attention so we can be highly aggressive. It's no different than Black Friday. So let's look at Black Friday, like the day of Black Friday is an entire month. Okay, so let's say as soon as the doors open, it's the first of the month, and at the end of the day on Black Friday, it's the end of the month. Like, let's compact it in one day.
Okay.
The best deals, the doorbusters, do they go at the first of the day or at the very end of the day?
The very first.
Very first. So if you're thinking about that as a consumer, just think about that for a second. You're not going to say, hey, we're going to go Black Friday shopping, but I'm going to wait until the very end of the day on Black Friday to see if they want to accomplish their goals.
That's funny because you're not going to go up to the team and say, hey, your shelf looks pretty picked through. There's a bunch of empty boxes, but I see you got a 37-inch TV that's not on sale.
What would you do?
Would you take $250 less for it?
But that's what consumers are doing to us.
Oh, 1,000%. When you're whipped and worn out and it's the end of the month and everybody's grinded, you're like, hey, I see a perfect good loaf of bread that sells for $6. I'll offer you 27 cents for it.
No, it'll sell for $6 tomorrow.
It's like, what? Why'd you do that?
Now, we're going to sell you something and we're going to help you out. But if you want the best selection and you want the best service,
come now.
Like, just come now.
It's just whatever day
enjoy
that
the
is,
process.
now.
Yeah.
Like if it's on your mind, you need a car, come now.
And the manufacturer doesn't change the incentives on the very last day of the month.
Nope.
They're locked in.
Nope.
So on and so forth. So I think we all agree. I know we needed to explain that a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
it's busted.
It's busted. It's busted. All right, our next segment as we continue working through this, the stress level, and not necessarily are you stressed, but what does your stress cause with your team? And that's leading through pressure, because we're going to have that pressure without losing yourself. So when you think about that, leading through pressure without losing yourself. Now, I'm gonna tell you guys this, and you guys probably know this, probably because you're very similar. I fuel off some pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm one of those people, because of my personalities, that I perform better under pressure than if I just have like no pressure and everything's like, ooh, like flowing through.
Yep.
Kind of like the difference in sports of being the underdog versus being the returning and winning all the games.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather be in the battle, in the heat of it, figuring it out. Like my brain just goes into a different... So I like to lead through pressure, but it's very tricky because you don't want it to get past that manageable pressure, or then you end up losing yourself or your leadership. And I think that comes a lot through, us. We get to set the expectations for our team. And we just finished up with goal setting for this month. And it's how do we push the team that it's obtainable, but they can push it, but not so far out there where then everybody's just on pins and needles.
Yeah, I think you find that happy medium, and that's one of the things when I go over goals with our team is hey, here's this, and I give them the stats to know that they're not on an island by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not achievable. So give them a 90-day average. Here's where we're trending. Here's what we did last year in this month. Here's how many people you have, or here's what your numbers, your dividers look like. And so they know that. And then hey, we're going to stretch this a little bit. Here's the expectation for the manufacturer. Here's what your all-time best is. And we're going to stretch that a little bit. And generally they know that's their goal. And then they divide that and have the team kind of up the goal a little bit more to hopefully land on that. But if you're shooting for X number and you come to here and fall a little short, and generally you're going to hedge that a little bit so they can still hit a bonus and they still can get paid.
Sure.
So it's not like I didn't hit it, I don't get the money, it's all for nothing, right? You have to keep that in mind to keep kind of a performance thing without saying, hey, you normally do 250, let's put it at 500.
Yeah.
Like it has to be realistic with reasoning.
And I think that's where, the slide we're talking about in here, that's the differentiation between pressure and then overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there's some departments that we have that we know that we can't push and stretch as much as others because it would become overwhelming and they would just shut down. That's a different in personalities.
Yeah.
And that's okay because they do some things great that the people that just live under pressure don't do great. So you have to make sure where to apply the pressure, yet not overwhelm. You've convinced them. You've shown them, here's your data. Here's what you've done. Here's what the industry's doing. We all want to grow. Here's what we'll do here.
Yeah, and it's so important there to have that balance. But I love seeing whenever our team takes any of that, and whether it be the side that normally doesn't push very far or the side that does, that they push it a little bit farther. They just want a little bit more. And that's when naturally hey, I set it in at the right amount. Because if you're underthinking that or overthinking it, you'd say, oh, I didn't push it far enough.
Yeah.
No, you want to leave a little bit on the end so they internally have a little thought of, hey, I'm going to push it a little bit farther.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll give you a leadership tip out here for everybody. It's not just about setting a goal and then just going on and doing your thing. You have to set your goal, but you then have to sell them on that you believe that they can do it. As you as the leader, if you don't instill that confidence that, hey, I put this goal out here because I believe you can achieve it and here's how, they never will.
Yeah.
You must be the first one to slow down and convince your team that, hey, you can do this. I'm here with you, and let's go.
Yeah, the game plan, how you get there, what that equals, all those things.
Absolutely. Our mind, we've talked about a mind a bunch in here. It's a very powerful tool, but you have to convince it and you have to show it and give it the direction and then turn it loose. Well, on the next subject, we've talked about this a little bit. Let me get y'all's thoughts on creating emotional buffers, boundaries, routines and resets. Anything else to add on that?
So when I was looking at that and I was thinking, okay, what makes sense to talk about here? As we sit here and say, hey, we don't have a bunch of people we can go talk to those things about because it's a high level or it concerns that person or whatever. We have to think about that and feel like our managers or our team might be in the same boat. They might not have that. And so then probably inadvertently, non-directly, when you're checking in on your managers, hey, here's the goal, and you're not always like, hey, what's your number? Hey, it's a busy day. Sometimes it's just that. Hey, you got a busy day, got a lot of appointments lined up.
Yeah.
It's just like a little bit of a reel. You're like, hey, man, how's it going? How was last night?
Yeah.
Break a wall down. And then it's like, hey, team good on their, projection per day is like, hey, tell me what pushback you had. Yeah. So then you're already putting, not negative, but you're saying, hey, there might be an issue.
Yeah.
So you're going to say, hey, what pushback have you had from the team? Who have you seen excel and who have pushed back? And then that gives them opportunity to dump some stress on you.
That's so good. I think you're giving an employee the green light to not necessarily complain, but to be real with you.
Yeah.
And how many even managers, well, I can say the majority, won't naturally do that because they feel like they're letting you down.
Yeah, or just making excuses.
Or making excuses. That's good.
And I'm sitting here thinking that, that's not something that we, by plan do, But sometimes, like when I'm checking on separate departments, and I'm talking to them, I'm like, all right, well, hey, I see such and such is doing a great job. Like you got to come in with something, right? There's got to be some facts or something.
Icebreakers.
It's like, hey, I was looking at this, like this is pretty solid, good job. It's like, hey, what are you seeing? How's it looking for this guy for this month? And it's like, okay, what kind of pushback are you getting here? That you just give them the green light, so that. The more that you can implement giving them the ability to relieve their stress, then what we just talked about, that whole first subject, allows them to be a better performer with a clearer vision and deliver a better manager and process.
It's sometimes going, and we talk about this, no different than with sales, whenever you're coaching them. A manager's the same way of going in their area. Yesterday, I had laughed on people wouldn't leave me alone in the sales tower, so I was like, I'm going to go over here. I was working on pricing. So I was walking through and I talked to a couple people. Well, there's a spare computer in service drive. I was like, I never go in here. Let me log in. And I love being able to log in wherever you want to on any computer. So I log in there like, Taylor, that doesn't work. I said, it seems to be working just fine. And so I got logged in, started working on, pulled up some pricing. The guy next to me was like, oh, God.
That's my favorite
and so I kind of went through and I was like, hey, how's it going? Walk through. And it talked to this guy a little bit, but then he started going through, and a couple of the other guys looking from the other end were like, oh, okay, it's all right. It's not bad. And so they'd come over and then loved. So you don't know the difference you're making whenever you take some time to be able to go sit. You can just sit. You don't even have to work, but it was just convenient enough that I could sit there and work on a couple of things. And stayed about 30 minutes in there, so not very long, but enough that I could ask them about a couple of things. But then more times than not, you're just sitting in there listening and hearing, and you can pick up on some things that maybe you need to come in later and address.
And some of them, to go on that, some of them are so stressed out about having to come find you. Like some people have no problem asking you 84 times a day. Like once they've broken that barrier.
Yeah.
Some of them will come to my office and are like just scared, like they saw a ghost. And like, I didn't think I could come to you. I was like, get in here, sit down, what's going on? What's your favorite song? Let me turn it on for you. And they're like, what? So if you go in their element, then they might happen to mention like, hey, Taylor, have you ever thought about this? And a lot of it's just thinking.
It is.
It's a garbage or not, right? It's just thinking. But it allows them to communicate where they would never come find you before. Because some of them will tell me, it's like, I never know when to slow you down because you're always in a hurry. I was like, well, I'm always available to stop, as long as somebody's not right on the other side waiting on me. I said, but I'm always going to move quickly, so either got to fall down in front of me or just like raise your hand or something. So being in their element, it helps with that.
I laugh. The ones that always come and try to find me, know where I'm at, they walked by me and were texting me. They had no idea where I was at because I was in a different, complete spot that I was supposed
You can
to be
see them.
sitting.
You can clearly see them. And they're just like
just
lost
running around like they were lost.
Hey.
Help.
And they'll do that. They'll mom dad you when they see. They're like, hey, they're working a deal with one manager. And like, hey, are you around? It's like, no, but I see the other managers are.
Yes.
I think that falls in place of just creating those healthy routines as a leader, allowing those other people that are within your organization have let's call it a safe place to be able to emotionally talk about that, so then they can bring a better version of themselves to their department.
Absolutely.
Hey, what about how to be able to stay present and avoid reactive leadership? We talked a little bit about that, let's stay present, figure out what's going on versus just putting out a fire, reactive, putting out a fire, reactive.
Probably over the last 6 months, I've really learned this more than I've had to, because, I'm primarily on the desk while trying to teach other managers to continue to grow. And I'm sitting there because I don't want mistakes of them to happen. I don't want to say anything, but I'm just listening while I'm trying to work. But it's more so just forcing myself of, no, they're going to do it. And then Matt's talked about this several times. And it's helped me a whole lot. Instead of me saying, no, don't work with me, whenever somebody walks up to me to ask something, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'm like, hey, X, Y, or Z, can you help with this? Let's work on this. And I'll walk over there and walk them to it. And I've walked them to parts before. I walked them to service before when they were like, they won't do anything. And instead of me getting aggravated, me picking up my phone, texting them like, yeah, give me just a second. So it's really helped me of stepping back there and say, hey, let me show you how to do this. Instead of me stepping back in, taking control of the whole situation. It's never going to grow if I do that. It's never going to grow if I do that. So that would probably be helping in the reactive part of that.
I think the staying present to grow on that is finding new areas to unpack, you know? So you got to keep the, like, what if? Like, what's on the other side of that? Or, like, why is this account in a surplus? Or why does it have a heavy expense? Like, what is that? So unpacking some things, it just keeps if you're someone who operates under pressure, but you've delegated a bunch of that stuff for other people to handle as for a business runner, then you're going to need to find something else to work on to help to stay present. So you're not just waiting for the next customer that wants to talk to Mr. Lewis to sell you something, to pitch you something to give away for free, or to tell you about how your team did an awful job. Like I feel like that happens a lot in reactive leadership, and that's gonna happen always. But then you have to find the thing to keep your mind sharp of trying to constantly look for the next thing in business or what's currently going on, how you can help it out. I think it's by unpacking all those little things.
It is. You know, and the part of mental toughness versus emotional resilience and why that matters, you got to remember, too, under a large pressure situation. Now let's go to a bigger scale of when we have the pressure of everybody talking about tariffs right now, or how COVID was, or when 9/11 happened, or the crash in 08, 09 happened. Like these massive things where you have a lot of pressure and the what ifs and the interest rates going up, the real leader has to show mental toughness at that point in time because you're setting the pace. All your employees are looking at you. You've got to carry that on and be mentally very tough and give them some encouragement and positive direction that, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that part. And then the emotional resilience, you've got to also make sure that you run everything through a filter before you just have knee-jerk reactions on everything. Because some of it, a lot of it, is really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, so they're watching when you're getting chewed on by a customer or an employee. How do you handle it?
Yeah.
Right? So one, it's for the situation, the person on the other side. But two, it's for all the other people that are watching. That's you emotionally properly being able to handle that.
I think the easiest one to talk about there is if you're at a restaurant and the waiter dumps the entire tray of all the food or all the food, like how do they react?
Yeah.
Because everybody's watching. Who's showing the strength there, the encouragement and helping them out. You know, the same thing goes on in your business is a part doesn't come delivered or somebody doesn't show up or whatever happens. The internet's out for the day. That's a big one these days. What do you do? How do you rise up and show them like, hey, it's okay. Here's what you do.
Yeah, and I find this so rewarding whenever you're so hard on your team. Like, why can't they figure it out? Why can't they do this? They don't call people back. They don't do this. Your team's doing a whole lot better than you think they are. Because if you'll go out, not even in your just industry, and go check on people lose their top about this. That's human nature of natural of everyone going in there. Without great leadership, they don't do any better. So it's important, even though being tough on your team and pushing them to the next level, sometimes understand that your team's pretty dang good and they do a good job. Life's pretty difficult in the current situation with everything it's given, so it's always important to remember, hey, love on your team and make sure they know, hey, you're doing a good job, but let's try to do this a little bit better.
Very good. All right. Leadership quiz. What percentage of employees say they leave a job because of poor leadership?
This is going to be higher than what you would actually think it is.
What percentage of employees say they leave a job because of poor leadership? Not because of bad pay, not because the company isn't advancing, not because sales aren't good, but poor leadership. A, 25%, B, 40%, C, 57%, or D, 75%?
Besides the point that I can see the answer right in front of me.
If you couldn't.
If we couldn't, I would still pick as high as it says that it is. And here's why. Because, you know, we're blessed to have the situation of multiple different buildings and managers and people. And all of us in here have talked to employees that say they love working for the Lewises, they appreciate what we do and the culture, but they just can't work for so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we've heard that time and time again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that person was bad. It's just maybe a conflict of personalities or the way they manage.
I think it's the exact same philosophy. You think of a baseball glove or a good basketball shoe. If it does not fit, it doesn't mean it's a wrong equipment. It doesn't mean it's a wrong shoe or wrong glove. It just doesn't work. And we've had, like you said, because of multiple different places, we've had people that were just at the end of the rope with the managers and the person, or the person with the managers, like, we're ready to be done and done. And they've gone to another one of our stores or another departments, and they're just soaring at the highest level because they didn't, the yin and yang wasn't good.
We're kind of unpacking this, but we need to, is that there is the leadership and the management, but you can't have great leadership and management without a great company.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a poor company with poor ethics and poor strategy and
Then
culture,
they all scale down.
Then they all scale down.
Yeah.
So you got to start at the top. Don't lose that.
Yeah.
But then the main reason employees leave a job is because of poor leadership. The answer's high.
The answer is D. 75% of people who leave, we're not saying 75% of people leave, 75% of people leave, say, according to Gallup, 3 out of 4 leave because they leave managers, not companies.
Mm-hmm. I hope that is a gut check for everybody, including myself, to look in the mirror today and going, am I providing what my employees need to be successful in a great organization?
Yeah.
Because if not, they could be leaving because of me.
Yeah. It comes all the way back to the head, just like, hey, have I provided all the things? And so a lot of times we say, have we given time, tools, and training?
Yep.
Well, have we given that to our direct team, and then can they give that? So that's really good. So keep that in mind when you're doing that. All right, last segment here, building a stress-resilient culture.
Oh, okay.
Starting with you. How do you build your team to be resilient towards stress in your culture? In your everyday, how do you break that down? Normalizing conversations around stress with your team. Okay, so a little bit just on a whim came up with that earlier, but how do you normalize that without just saying, hey, all right, Karen, come on here next. Tell me what's going on, right? And everybody shows up with a list. What's your thoughts? Like, do you have anything different than what I said or something you've seen work or something that doesn't work?
Because it's always an awkward situation for me. So I've had to come up with a subject no different than you are, and I'll pull a employee into my office, or I'll go to their office, depending upon which employee it is. If I know that they're like the one you were talking about, that I need to go to their office, I'll go to their office. We have a bunch of glass offices now, so it's a little bit different than the older dealership because then everybody's staring at the two of us talking. But I'll always have a icebreaker subject to talk about. And that subject really has nothing to do with what we're actually going to talk about.
Yeah.
But it just opens up the conversation and normalizes it, like what you're talking about. And it's got to be enough to get it going, but not too much where we're talking about that for 30 minutes. and the more often you do that, so I found now the more times that I invite people to come up to the office to have business conversations, the easier it is to have those conversations.
Most definitely.
If you only have them in your office every 6 months, then it's totally different.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting with these people are not an hour long. They're 10 minutes, 15 minutes, unless we got to really unpack something, and then it might be 30 minutes. But the more you talk about that, you'll identify these stressors early on instead of in the past where I would identify them when they were out the door.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference of, hey, let me go double check those lug nuts. Yeah, they need a couple extra foot-pounds, or the wheel just fell off.
Yep.
Just like there's 2 different levels to check those at. And so the more often that you could check that, it's like the olden days, they would always check and add oil every time they put gas in their cars. Because the other result was that the engine would blow up. Don't wait for a problem.
That's right.
So that's a big thing there. The role of vulnerability in leadership without undermining authority. So how do you allow them to have vulnerability, or you to have vulnerability, without undermining the authority of that person or of you?
I think where I've really had success with this is being able to talk about, even while you're staying calm and composed with the situation, with a fastball that came out of nowhere and you had to catch. Hey, that was difficult, and I had trouble with this part, but this is how I arrived at my conclusion, or arrived at the completion of everything going through, of letting them know that. And once you tell them that a couple of times, even though they see that you're so calm and collected, and you walk through the whole process, and whoever the customer was throwing everything at you, and you still fielded it all, like, oh, God, it didn't affect him at all. No, come in here and say, yeah, it did affect me. This is how I felt, or whatever it was. This is how I handled the situation, and then move forward. I think then on the other side, it encourages them, whenever they have difficult situations, that they can come and ask you about it, and then be able to unpack that with you as well.
I think there's two parts there in your latest situations. And we've done this often, but you don't always get to do this, to share it, because, the old game with telephone where I say something, you're saying it always changes, right? And the severity and the tone and the nonverbal communication will never translate. So if you have a customer in a situation, you feel like it's not going to make it worse, keyword, not make it worse, get that employee or get the team and let them be a part of that, so they can see, one, what you're having to deal with because of how they dropped the ball. So my stress level is high because we didn't diffuse the situation, and so now I kind of want your stress level to be a little bit higher, because I'll help you diffuse your stress, because we're going to talk about it after we're done fixing the scenario, but allowing them to be a part of that, and then afterwards you get to talk about that, and so it's the vulnerability of like, hey, I probably didn't handle all those things correctly, but you can see how we did this, and this. So the vulnerability of like, hey, there was probably some areas that we could have grown there. And then they will say, you know what? I was so far off. Like, I knew the parts weren't available, and I knew we were running behind, but I never told them.
Sure.
And so showing some vulnerability then allows them to know they can be vulnerable, and so then you can really work on the key issue there.
I think another side of that vulnerability, I was just sitting here thinking about this, is in leadership, you may have taught your employees how to handle a stressful situation, and maybe they didn't do it exactly like you would do it.
Yeah.
You need to have some vulnerability to yourself, knowing that each person has a different personality and the way they handle it. And as long as the outcome gets where you need it to get to, you need to not undermine them, be vulnerable there and go, okay, maybe they did listen to me. They just had to take a different path that was more natural to them.
Yeah.
They can't be me. I can't be them. But we've got to all go towards the same goal. Our paths may look a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we got to be willing to do that it's not like crazy rigid, especially when we're talking about people.
Yeah.
It's not just 1 + 1 is 2.
Yep.
So that does take some vulnerability.
Yeah. All right, tools. What are the tools to help build a stress-resilient culture? So breathing, reflection breaks, workload audits, feedback loops. So we've talked about, kind of the feedback loop and how we communicate that and how you integrate that. Man, one of the most fun things about our new campus is the ability to say, hey, go hit the gym. Yeah. Or, like a common thing that gets said around here is like, hey, go get in the cold plunge. Yeah. Like, you need to cool off. Go get in the cold plunge, right? Yeah. And there were some guys last night who were fired up, and they were going to go hit the basketball court. Yeah. So that outlet is right there, so there's not an excuse, and they know that you're okay with it. It's like, man, you seem stressed. You want to talk about it? And like, nope. It's like, all right, cool. Go hit the gym for 30 minutes. I'm going to turn the sauna on for you, or go sweat it out. I bet you can't sit on the top shelf for 20 minutes. That I think I'm going to call that a tool that we have.
I think it is for sure. I think although the word workload audits is in there, what I'm going to say there is be willing to have somebody else take a look at your work. And we've been in this situation before. I'm going to dumb this down some. is that, like, we've been trying to fix a project, if it's a mechanical deal or if it's a this or that. And, like, you're just so caught into it. You've been working on it, and you're busted your knuckles, and you've lost the pieces. And you're like, dang, man, I need a break. Will you try to see if you can do this? And, like, a clear mind goes in there and wham.
Every time.
And it's not that I didn't have the ability to do it. I needed to be able to de-stress, think about it clearly. Same thing happens in the workplace. Okay, will you look and see why this is not balancing?
Yep.
Or will you please take a look at this and see why we're not scheduling, our different workloads out correctly?
And then don't give them the details. Don't give them all the dirt,
Yeah,
just say,
that's important.
That's the problem, because then you're clouding their mind, right? Yeah. So just say, hey, I need a little help with this. Fresh eyes, take a look at this and see what you think. I need this.
Hush right there.
And then walk away, de-escalate. And then when they solve that, don't be like, dadgummit, I'm a fool. Why couldn't I solve that? Be like, whew, stress relief. Thank you so much. Hey, let me know next time I can look at something for you.
That's the point right there, is then you open up that omni-channel there, going, hey, next time, let me return the favor and help you out.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Listen.
All right, modeling self-care sets permission for others to do the same. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so important. I think we've went over all that, obviously, of taking care of yourself, have your outlet, be able to go through all of that.
But I think it was important, like when y'all were saying just a minute ago, is that if you see an employees like that, and we're fortunate to have basketball court or pickleball or cold plunge or gym on site here, is it's like you got to give them the okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's 2:00. Go hit the gym for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm telling you, go do it.
Yeah.
And they need that green light. And you're like, oh, I can't go over there if it's not before work or after work.
Yeah, and that's your culture, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Taylor was showing me, or he's showing someone in the office, and I just happened to, I do it more and more that I'll go, and we have extra desk in areas for reasons, so I'll just go work in the sales tower, so then I can see what's going on, and the managers are comfortable with it now, and the other people are getting there. But Taylor was showing somebody a video. He's like, do you think we should have this so that if guys just need to get a pump in? And I knew that he was watching a First Form video. In the middle of their headquarters, they had a bench press rack. There was like a row of offices and a row of offices. And there's a video from the second story, and the guy's just down there ripping out 225 on the bench. And I was like, yep, just go ahead and bring it over.
Yeah.
Just like, what's that? It's like, it's stress reliever. Like, all right, Mason, let's go see how many you can do, right? So, and it's the culture of knowing that that's okay. And then like, yep, there's a customer. Let's go get him. Come on.
Get right off.
Put your shirt back on and get out there.
Come
Like,
on.
what are you doing?
Rack it up and let's go.
Yeah, but just having that stress resilient culture is so important to have that there. So I think that wraps that up pretty good of just understanding those things.
Absolutely. Hey, getting to the end, couple of fun questions here, but going through. So Matt or Shelby, either one of y'all can take whatever you want to in this, but whichever one of y'all wants to go first on it. But who is someone in leadership that you listen to, follow, admire, podcast, people you talk to, people you de-stress with? Doesn't matter, but
there's multiple people, and y'all have heard us talk about podcasts and books and stuff on here. One of them that's consistent, over years' time and not just a couple months for me is Craig Groeschel. Craig does a great job on his leadership podcast of real-world leadership, gets people talking about real-world situations just like we do in here, and then they unpack it. And he's a Christian-based, founder of Life Church, so on and so forth, but he's talking all business there. What I love about him, too, the fluff's not there. Like what he's talking about's real, and he's lived through it. I can remember listening to a podcast, we were talking about this just a couple weeks ago, where at first when he started off, he had a key to every single door. And he thought he had to be the one to unlock and undo everything until he started giving up some of that authority and empowering others. So some of the stuff we talk about, it's great to hear from another perspective.
Yeah, most definitely. I got a bunch of different podcasts I listen to and bounce to from different reasons, one or other. I think a book that Dad gave me a long time ago, a cool leader that was about business and was about faith, was Dave Anderson, of understanding that. Just somebody that's been through some stuff and is just cool to be able to go relate to. I listen to a whole lot of Dan Martell stuff. I think today's leaders on digital or social, you get way more out of it because they're trying to continue to gain traction. You look like old school Grant Cardone versus today's Grant Cardone. There's just much more to it because they're pushing themselves. So a bunch from Dan Martell of just kind of business hacks of, the buy back your time or those things. So, but there's a bunch of different ones. Like, you could even say like learning so much from your buddy, why is his name slip my mind? Dave Ramsey.
Oh, Dave Ramsey.
And you might be like, oh, your Dave Ramsey philosophy is like, I'm not any one specific philosophy.
Take them all together.
I like to take a mule deer hybrid and give a little this, little this one, little this one, because they're not all going to fit what you're currently doing in your current lifestyle. But I think there's some good things gained there as well.
I think that's important that you hit on that, and we love that you're listening to our podcast, but we encourage you to listen to multiples.
Yeah, don't try to be just one of us.
And I tell people that, if you look at any of our training manuals we have in any of our departments, it's blended from multiple different people. And there's two things. When I go listen to a trainer, or I go to a seminar, or I listen to a podcast, it's what can I gain out of this? What can I take away to integrate into what I'm doing? I'm not trying to be them.
No.
Okay, I'm not trying to duplicate that. I know that 100% of the stuff they say is not going to relate to me, or I might not even buy into. But I'm not going to let, even if 75% of it's there, I won't let that cloud another 25% that could be game changer for me.
You're just looking for the one grand idea, right? Or the one like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought about that. Like, forget the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you ordered this, you want a fresh, clean chicken breast that's grilled, and the only way to get it at this restaurant is to order a sandwich that comes with mayonnaise and it comes with I'm just going to take all that stuff, toss it. I'm not the Starbucks order guy, and I'm going to eat the chicken and be like, what the heck you do? It's like, I just had the best grilled chicken you could ever imagine.
If you'll do that, you'll get so much more out of it. The amount of people I talk to that then say, well, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, and I don't like this. I was like, you got the wrong mindset. That mindset's keeping you from the stuff you would have liked from
It's
them.
no different than when you go to church and the person says, God, all that preacher talked about was money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he talked about tithing at the very end. Did you catch the first 45 minutes where he talked about this, and this? It's like, all right.
I know.
Fair enough. So
much value there, though, from learning and leading from others.
Absolutely. It's so important to know that it can be done in small amounts of time. It doesn't have to be a long setting. You have to sit and get through all of these other things. So great podcast today, going through a whole lot of things, talking about things that people don't necessarily think about, but being burned out, still in charge, still working through with your team. So had a lot of fun today. Make sure and always check us out at lewissuperstore.com and click that like, subscribe so you can follow for more content at crossroadconversationpodcast.com.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with your friends and family, even visit our website, send us the questions about what you want to know, what you want to hear, tell us about the automotive industry, family business in general. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you have, but make sure you tune in next time where we bring in another guest and we talk more about the automotive industry and all the great things going on within our business.